Called Doomsday Guide detailing Vladimir Putin's plan to lead Russia into a potential world war by 2025. It was a leaked document by Germany and has NATO countries across Europe on high alert. Russia's carefully constructed plan to provoke NATO countries into war is centered around a slow progression. First, escalating conflict through its ally nation, Belarus. Once troops are in place there, cyber attacks and propaganda will be launched to cause clashes in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. While the Baltic states are distracted, Putin launches missiles, then another cyber attack on the only land border between mainland Europe and the Baltic states. But much of this 18-month plan is banking on a Biden defeat in the upcoming election, leaving room for Russia to take further advantage of the chaos. Now, this growing concern of Russian aggression comes as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky searches for an end to its war with Russia. He's in Switzerland today for a peace summit, asking leaders across the world, including allies of Putin, to help find an end to the fighting. So joining me live, retired Air Force Brigadier General John Teichert. General, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. Do you think these leaked secret plans, first of all, are legit, and how serious should the reaction be?
Nicole, militaries on both sides of all conflicts go through a variety of training scenarios and war planning to prepare for what may happen. And in this case, it looks like this was a training scenario or war plan of something that could happen. And on our side, the Germans and the United States and NATO are wise to prepare ways to counter it, both to be ready in case it happens, and then ultimately to deter it so that it does not happen.
You know, in general, obviously, it's always better to be proactive versus reactive. But is there the possibility this could be some type of subversion, some type of trickery from Vladimir Putin?
Nicole, that is always possible. And certainly Putin uses these types of mental or psychological games as a part of his strategic calculus. And ultimately, again, NATO is extremely well prepared to handle a variety of scenarios. And the more we think through what Putin may do, and the more we prepare for it, the more likely it is that we will stop him from making these types of decisions that would be catastrophic in Eastern Europe.
Absolutely. You know, and this is something, I don't think anyone wants, maybe besides Putin, but what could it mean for the U.S. and the world if that war expands?
Certainly, Nicole, that is not something that anyone would hope for. Ultimately, Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty would prompt all NATO members to come to the support of one attacked NATO member. But ultimately, if you look what's going on in Ukraine, Russia cannot even subdue that one small non-NATO member. It makes it far less likely that he's going to have this large strategic surprise to do something far more grandiose than something that he's failed to do thus far.
And that's what let's focus in on that. I mean, how likely is this to be able to expand when we know that Putin and this war against Ukraine has really struggled? I mean, it's lasted at this point for a long time, and there have been points where it has really struggled.
Nicole, if this were going to happen, there would be signposts. There would be things that we could see from the West with respect to large-scale mobilization and then deployment along the NATO-Baltic flank that would indicate that this may actually happen. And in lieu of those signposts, we can be strongly suggestive that this will not happen, especially in light of the fact that Russia, again, can't even subdue its neighbor in Ukraine, let alone a NATO ally or a NATO force.
And since I have you here, General, we obviously cannot ignore the other major war that's happening right now, talking about in the Middle East, Iran now claiming it's conducted airstrikes in Iraq and Syria. So this could be expanding. How significant is this?
Nicole, it's significant just with respect to the fact that Iran has been pulling the strings for all of this mischief during the last 3 months and, frankly, the last 3 years. And the best thing that the United States and our allies can do is demonstrate strength, capability, will, and resolve against Iran, because thus far they haven't seen it, and they continue to chip away at the strengths that we have because, frankly, they don't see the will to strike back.
Yeah, so many things to keep an eye on. Brigadier General John Teichert, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Nicole.
Well, we are